person. You can talk to me about that. You can't talk to everybody. Really?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here for this third meeting of the Executive Nominations Committee for the 2025 legislative session. This is February 10th, and we have a full agenda on the docket with about a little over a dozen nominees being considered in person today. So why don't we jump in and go ahead and get started. We will start with the first nominee for consideration. This is Ms. Yvonne Briley Wilson, constituent of District 14, Senator Zucker. Oh, there you go. All right, thought I saw you there. And this is for the Correctional Ombudsman.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'll kind of set the pace at this point. It's my great honor to present Yvonne Briley Wilson. Really, we've gotten a chance to know each other, more than 20 years of experience, colleagues, in terms of not only her background working in a trade association, but really in the weeds as a attorney, doing a great job there. Doing investigations on grievances, but this position is require a people person, someone who works well with others, and given your extensive background working in trade associations and law, I'm glad to present you to the committee and encourage people to support your nomination. So with that, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Senator Zucker. President Ferguson, Senator Lamb, and members of the nominating committee, I'm honored and humbled to stand before you today. I thank Governor Moore for his faith in allowing me to serve as the first correctional ombudsman for our great state of Maryland. I thank my family and friends and colleagues who have supported me in this position. I think it represents an amazing opportunity for our state, and I am happy to receive any questions you may have.
Thank you. Senator Carrozza has a question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your public service. I was looking at the description of the position when Governor Moore announced it, and it says the office is an independent and impartial oversight entity, will conduct investigations and reviews to ensure the integrity of operations within both the Maryland Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services and the Maryland Department of Juvenile Services. So it's obviously a very key and important position. Two brief questions. One, with the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, I represent ECI in Somerset County. There's been a continual challenge with staffing levels that affect safety of both correctional officers and personnel and the population as well. And would like to, if you've already been to ECI when you're planning to go, would be interested in your take on that. And number two, Department of Juvenile Services, just given all the challenges we have with that department, would you also be advising the governor on detention issues, as well as it does say ensure the integrity? I'm assuming that also means integrity of operations. That also means the safety of operations. Thank you.
That's a great question. Absolutely. So first of all, the legislative mandate for the first year is focused on facilities within the Jessup region. So as of yet, I have not visited those facilities within like the ECI region. However, the intent is for the expansion to other regions. As of right now, I have visited all of the focus facilities for the state, basically the Jessup region. In terms of whether that will include focusing on the safety of the Department of Juvenile Services, yes, that is correct.
which
I
may,
think I've answered
which
both
may
questions.
include detention issues.
Absolutely, and just so you know, I don't think that was addressed. I have a background in corrections. I have a background in juvenile services and as well as advocacy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I see Senator Smith.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening. It's good to see you. I really appreciate the conversation we had a few weeks ago now, and really impressed with your background and your commitment to this this new effort. When we created this agency or this department, we slid in the Juvenile Justice Monitoring Unit from the Office of the Attorney General over to under your purview. And I guess my question is, you know, we're continuing to look at mechanisms for greater oversight of the Department of Juvenile Services. This Juvenile Justice Monitoring Unit will play a critical role in ensuring that the Marylanders have trust in the system and transparency. And I just wanted to open up that dialogue with you, to have your commitment to work with us in the future, starting this session, to continue some of those reforms to make sure that there's a level of accountability and accessibility and transparency that I think all of us deserve and need at this day and age. So I just wanted to open up that dialogue and get your commitment to work with us this legislative session.
Absolutely. So as we, I think, discussed in our discussion, number one, the Juvenile Justice Monitoring Unit has already been successfully integrated into the Office of the Correctional Ombudsman. We have actually already hired one new staff member for that agency. I shouldn't say that agency because this is now a part of the Office of the Correctional Ombudsman. I envision it as a tree with two branches, correctional oversight and juvenile oversight. And we have already begun having team meetings, all staff meetings, if you will. We have already begun integrating the work of the agencies. Now, we will not share staff in the sense of we will cross over, but we will, the commonality of the work will be important, including establishing a database system that will serve both forms of oversight.
Just say thank you very much and look forward to supporting your nomination.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Next, we have Senator McKay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to see you again.
Yes, as well.
As you talk about the two branches in District 1, Garrett, Allegheny, and Washington County, both of those branches are very, very prevalent. And so have you had a chance to look at from a budgetary standpoint? Do you have all the resources that you're going to need? And anyhow, give you an opportunity to maybe touch upon that if you might.
Am I able to get back with you?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
We need to make sure that we give you all of the tools that are needed in the toolbox to make sure that both branches are taken care of properly.
And I greatly appreciate that.
So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Senator Hayes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, I've known the candidate for quite a long time. I've known her to operate at a great level of integrity, professionalism, and so on and so forth. I think that we are fortunate as a state to have this individual to serve in this capacity, and I look forward. I'm very glad that we have this nomination. I look forward to seconding this nomination before us today, and thank you so much for taking on the responsibility and the call to serve the great citizens of Maryland. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you so much, Ms. Briley-Wilson. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate your time as well.
Next, we're going to go on to the handgun roster board. We have a few nominees here. We're going to begin with Mr. Ivan Bates, our state's attorney from Baltimore City. He's a constituent of District 46, and the president will be introducing him.
Good evening, members of the committee. Mr. Chairman, it is a pleasure to be here with with you this evening. Have somebody that most of you, I'm sure, have seen quite a bit on a number of the local news channels as well as national news channels. My friend and colleague, Ivan Bates, our state's attorney for Baltimore City. Needs no introduction, but has served for 25 years in both the criminal and civil system, is now, since 2023, served as a state's attorney, and we've seen historic declines in violent crimes in the city, and we've worked in great partnership across the board. Just learned, unfortunately, tonight that he has the sad reality of having gone to the same law school as our dear chair of the Judicial Proceedings Committee. So no Maryland law. We won't hold that against them. But without further ado, for this handgun review, I have a strong endorsement of Mr. Ivan Bates.
First of all, I want to say thank you very much to my senator, my friend, Senate President Ferguson. Thank you very much for thinking about me. Good evening, Chairman Lamb, Vice Chair Muse, and members of the committee, and thank you so much for the work that you do. I'm sincerely humbled by this nomination to the Maryland Handgun Roster Board. I also would like to thank Governor Moore and his administration, including Secretary Tisha Edwards. Thank you very much for the nomination for this board. And once again, I also would be remiss if I did not acknowledge two of the senators from our great city, Senator Corey McCray, Senator Antonia Hayes. Thank you very much for the support and all that you do. As the current state's attorney for Baltimore City and elected representative people, I take great pride in upholding the rule of law and ensuring the residents of our great city, Baltimore City, and our entire state of Maryland will be protected and safe. And I'm not going to say anything else. I'll take the words of Ms. Edwards, and I will go ahead and be quiet. If you have any questions, of course, you know I'm here. Any questions?
All right, thank you. We'll start with Senator McCray.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I was going to give my state's attorney a hard time, but I know who his favorite senator is from that standpoint. But just wanted to lean in and say just thank you for your leadership and thank you for stepping up and taking the opportunity to even go a little bit further than what you have at this moment from that standpoint. So I think I'm going to let my guy to my right second the nomination, but I'll make sure that I'm fully in support of him second that nomination, Mr. Stacey.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
Senator Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. State's Attorney. Ditto, echo everything they said. You know, I know you acknowledge us in the order in which we are closest to you, but Hayes come before McCray. Just make sure next time. But no, thank you so much for stepping up to the opportunity to serve, and we look forward to your leadership in this endeavor.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Bates? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Dr. Cassandra Kafazi. She is a constituent of District 30, Senator Henson. Senator Henson could not be here this evening, so I'll go ahead and introduce her to the committee. Dr. Kafazi is an associate professor at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, where she is in the Department of Health Policy Management. She is the co-director of the Center for Gun Violence Solutions at Johns Hopkins and has done incredible work in research on preventing gun violence and has many publications to her background as well. Her research focuses not only on gun violence prevention, but also on injury epidemiology and prevention, and also attitudes and public opinions regarding gun violence solutions and the intersection between public health and public safety. She has been a longtime faculty at the School of Public Health at Hopkins, including having gotten her doctorate at Johns Hopkins, and also has a master's in public health as well, and so is eminently qualified to serve on the Handgun Roster Board. And with that, sure, Dr. Kafazi.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Senator President Ferguson, Committee Chair Lamb, and members of the committee. I'm honored to have been nominated by Governor Moore for this role. As Senator Lamb said, I've had the privilege of being a faculty member at Johns Hopkins since 2014, and I've called Maryland home since 2010. And I'm really excited to serve the state in this role. And with that, I will happily answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for this nominee? Seeing none, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. Next, we have Kim Yvette Dennis, who's a constituent District 40, and Senator Hayes, also for the Handgun Roster Board.
Good evening, colleagues. Senator Antonio Hayes for the record. It is my honor and a pleasure to introduce you to Ms. Kim Dennis, a resident of the 40th District. I believe that our contributions to this very, very important board will be tremendous, as she's already articulated her commitment to the citizens in Baltimore through various service opportunities in the community. And I, for one, know very well that she comes from very good stock, knowing one of her dearest relatives, a brother of hers, who have served our city in various capacities, including being my supervisor at one point, which, is a pretty big job. And so the Senate President may be familiar with the Otis Rowley, who shared kinship with Ms. Dennis here. So, colleagues, I recommend favorably the appointment of Ms. Kim Davis to the Handgun Roster Board.
I want to thank Governor Moore for his nomination. Thank you, Senate President, Bill Ferguson, Senate Chair Lamb, and Vice Chair Anthony Muse. I do have a commitment to public safety. I'm a Baltimore City resident, as Senator Hayes mentioned. I lost my first nephew, to gun violence in Baltimore City. And so that's why you see me today. So I do have a willingness to serve the community. And if you have any questions for me, I am willing to take them. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you so much. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Next on the list, we have nominee number 5. This is Mr. Alexander Richard Cohn. He is a constituent of District 13 of Senator Grazzoni. Senator Grazzoni could not be here this evening, so I will go ahead and introduce Mr. Cohn. And so Mr. Cohn is being appointed to the position for the engineer on the board of the Handgun Review Board. So there are different positions on this board. There's a requirement for there to be an engineer. And so Mr. Cohn has a background in engineering and also environmental work. And has other research experience and also teaching experience along those lines as well. His background's in electrical engineering and would be an asset to the very technical work of this Handgun Review Board. With that, go ahead.
Hello, I would like to thank Governor Moore for nominating me for this position, and I'll also thank Senate President Ferguson, Senator Lamb, and Senator Muse. Thank you for that introduction, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Cohn? Seeing none, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Next, we have nominee number 6 for tonight. This is Mr. Daniel Herbert Pope III. He is a constituent of Senator Simon Ayers, District 31. Senator Simon Ayers could not be here this evening, but he did provide a letter of support for the confirmation of Mr. Pope. And I'll read this in part, just to introduce him. Given his extensive experience and resume highlighting his 29 years of dedicated public service in law enforcement, I believe Mr. Pope would be deserving of this appointment. I hope to give him your most favorable consideration. And with that, you may proceed.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Senator President Ferguson, and distinguished members. As you said, I've been a law enforcement officer for 29 years. I've been a lifelong resident of Maryland and currently reside in District 31. I'm grateful to have this opportunity to serve the citizens of Maryland in this role, and I can answer any questions if you have them at this time.
Any questions for Senator Hayes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if you don't know the answer, it's completely fine, but I was just curious. We were over here talking about the jurisdiction in which this board oversee.
Yes.
And I understand that it oversee like the regulated part of a firearm.
Okay.
This board doesn't have any jurisdiction over the unregulated part, like switches and stuff like that, right?
No,
Am I correct?
not to the best of my knowledge. No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions for this nominee? Seeing none, thank you so much. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so that is the last one for the handgun roster board. Next, we'll proceed to the Maryland Health Benefit Exchange Board, and this is Ms. Catherine Crowell Rogers. I know Senator Mounts could not be here, but Senator Carrozza has graciously agreed to step up in his place. She is a constituent of District 37 in the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Senator Mary Beth Carrozza representing Maryland's coast, which includes Wycomico, Somerset, and Worcester counties. And I am delighted to introduce and to recommend Catherine "Cat" Rogers from Salisbury to serve on the Health Benefit Exchange Board. And I hope you will join me in being impressed with her credentials. She currently serves at Tidal Health as a Director of Community Health Initiatives. During her tenure at Tidal Health during COVID, she oversaw the vaccination efforts at both on the hospital site and also when it moved to a bigger operation at the Wycomico County Civic Center. She has held several community health leadership positions, including Salisbury University, Coastal Hospice, and near and dear to my heart, the Worcester County Health Department from 2009 to 2018, where she ran the Health Insurance Assistance Program. So extremely qualified for this position, and I'm delighted to say that she lives in Salisbury, and Senator Mounts and I are pleased to introduce and recommend her to you tonight.
Thank you so much, Senator Carrozza. I'd like to thank Senator President, Senator Bill Ferguson, and Chair, Senator Lamb, and Vice Chair Anthony Muse. And also like to thank Governor Wes Moore for this appointment and to be able to provide perspective from the Eastern Shore on this very important Board of Trustees. I'd also like to thank my husband, Don Rogers, who's always my biggest support and cheerleader in all the endeavors that I get myself into. And I'm here to take any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Senator Reedy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here. Thank you for volunteering your time. And your experience is going to be a huge asset on this board. I wanted to know if you'd be willing to comment about a couple of things that obviously you're coming onto the board, so this is not a reflection on you, but I'm on the Joint Audit Committee that deals with the audits here in the General Assembly, and the Maryland Health Benefit Exchange has had a number of audit findings that have been before us. And if you've followed some of the news about our budget deficit, some of our problem is Medicaid expenses have come in much higher than we expected as a state. That's one of the issues. And so there have been audits that have found that the MHB didn't request supporting documentation from applicants who reported having zero income, even though state wage records reflected that the applicants had the income that exceeded the Medicaid income qualifications. There's even a finding that said that the Maryland Health Benefit Exchange didn't adequately pursue the collection of almost $650 million in insurance provider fees that should have gone into the MHB fund. And so I don't know, I looked at some of your background includes Tidal Health, you're providing fiscal oversight and management of multiple departments across the healthcare system. I don't know if you could comment about what you'd be able to do with your experience to be sure we get a handle on these and make sure we don't have similar problems moving forward.
Right, Maryland Health Benefit Exchange does certainly have a large budget, and fiscal oversight is critically important. So I consider myself fiscally conservative and a steward of state funds. I lead a number of state grants, and so I take that role very seriously in the state dollars. So I will be looking at everything that's provided to us as a member of the Board of Trustees there and hope to fulfill my responsibility adequately.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's just something we're watching closely, and it seems like you're a great fit, and I love having somebody from, you know, kind of outside the I-95 corridor. I'm from more like Western Maryland. Great to have somebody from Eastern Shore on the board, another person to really keep that rural health perspective. So thank you, and I'm happy to support your nomination. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Also, just wanted to echo my colleague. It's good to have someone who has experience in local health, and given your background at Worcester County Health Department, certainly appreciate you bringing that to the Health Exchange Board as well.
Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Next, we're going to go to number 8. This is the Maryland-Ireland Trade Commission, and bring forward Erin McNeely, a constituent of District 33 and Senator Guile, who's here to introduce her.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Mr. President, and members of the committee. For the record, Senator Don Guile, District 33, and I'm honored to recommend my constituent Erin McNeely for confirmation to the Maryland-Ireland Trade Commission, which was established by the General Assembly last session to enhance trade, investment, and cultural ties between Maryland and Ireland. Erin is a dynamic and results-driven business leader with a proven track record in operations, technology, human resources, and strategic consulting. Her ability to forge strong relationships, negotiate effectively, and drive profitability make her an outstanding candidate for this role. As both an executive and consultant, Erin has demonstrated exceptional leadership in fostering business growth, optimizing operations, and navigating complex markets. Her diverse expertise will be invaluable in strengthening economic partnerships between Maryland and Ireland, and I strongly support her appointment. Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening. First, I would like to thank Senate President Bill Ferguson, Committee Chair Senator Lamb, and Committee Vice Chair Senator Muse. I would also like to thank Governor Wes Moore for appointing me to the Maryland-Ireland Trade Commission. I would like to thank my husband and my son and my parents for all their support throughout my career, allowing me to get to this opportunity here. And with that, I will welcome any questions that the committee has for me.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you so much. We appreciate your time this evening. I think we're going to jump to number 12 because I see. We're going to skip around a little bit because I see Senator Hedelman in the back there. We're going to move to the end with the University of Maryland Medical System Corporation Board of Directors. And we'll start with nominee number 12. This is our former county executive of Montgomery County, Ike Leggett, no stranger to those of us in Annapolis here. He is a constituent of Senator Zucker's in District 14, and Senator Zucker's coming up to be able to introduce Mr. Leggett.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. This person who I strongly support needs no introduction, but Mr. County Executive, I'm going to introduce you anyway. Look, County Executive Ike Leggett served 3 terms, consecutive terms as County Executive, served on the County Council before that, but really is a Maryland treasurer, mentor of mine, so anything that I do well, it's his credit. Anything I do wrong, it's because I didn't call him in advance. But really, his expertise and calm is going to be very vital with the medical system. And you know, I'm really happy and thankful to Governor Moore for and the governor for recommending County Executive Leggett. But I'm even more pleased that County Executive Leggett accepted. You know, he's dedicated his life to public service, both in the military and in public service, serving others. And County Executive, thank you for doing this as well. Thank you so much. And with that, I present Ike Leggett, Isaiah Leggett. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Zucker and President Ferguson and Senator Lamb. I will also acknowledge my senators from the state, from Montgomery County and the State General Assembly, Senator Feldman, King, Smith. Thank you all. Let me also acknowledge and thank Governor Moore for this opportunity to serve. I am delighted to be a part of this board. It is my honor to serve and participate at the highest level of state government. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'll be glad to respond.
President Ferguson.
I'll defer to the majority.
Senator King, go ahead.
There are very few people that I know ever that have done the community service that Ike Leggett has done. He also serves on the AIB board, working with the Blueprint for Education. People go to him all the time for advice because he's lived so much of the volunteer life since he was county executive and on the county council. And I have just the utmost in respect for you, Ike, and all that you do. So I
Thank you.
strongly second that nomination.
Thank you.
Ditto in all the ways. The majority leader said it perfectly well. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
service, truly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Feldman.
Yeah, I'll just weigh in. We had, just last week, you were in the committee, in the EEE committee, in your capacity as the chair of the Accountability Implementation Board. You're doing a great job there. We've been naming buildings after you in Montgomery County, which is a testament to your work as county executive. So I'll ditto the ditto, okay?
Thank you.
Third
Thank
that
you very much.
nomination.
Thank you.
Ditto.
Senator Smith.
I'll just say ditto as well. No, thank you for your willingness to serve in this capacity and for everything you've done for the state and for our county and for all of us here. You've been a mentor to all of us, so thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Senator Hayes McRae, say
Before you leave, one, ditto, but two, I did have a follow-up question for you, I guess, with and it's a question that I've asked other nominees who have come forward before who are also being nominated to this board. The system obviously has many different hospitals attached to it, and a few years ago, St. Joe's was included as part of the system. And my question has been to other nominees as well. St. Joe's is obviously a faith-based kind of institution historically, and given the environment that we're seeing post-Dobbs, or post-Roe, rather, the current Dobbs environment that we're in, you have one institution within this system which is kind of religiously based and may have restrictions in whether abortion care can be provided or the types of care that providers can provide to patients in need, particularly patients that may not have any say whether coming to St. Joe's or being sent to GBMC, which happens to be right next door. From your perspective, from the boards, as a board member, how do you balance the perspectives of needing to provide abortion care, particularly life-saving abortion care to women, sometimes who have no choice in terms of where the ambulance might be bringing them to, and fitting that within, fitting St. Joe's within the system?
Well, let me not speak for the board, but speak for myself. My belief is that there should be access across the system, but in terms of emergency care, I think that St. Joe's and all the hospitals in the system will respond appropriately for that. In terms of regular care, I think there's some flexibility that they exercise, and I'll probably agree with that regular care service. So we are able to excite from that the regular service versus emergency service, then I think that we can accommodate both ends of that. And I'm sure that St. Joe's will continue to do that as well.
Okay. Well, that's helpful. And would encourage you as a board member to continue looking into particularly the emergency care piece of that, because oftentimes women may have no choice in where they're going when the ambulance brings them to St. Joe's or another institution. And I think that is incredibly important for folks when it comes to abortion care that might need to be, because it's life-saving. So would encourage you to keep an eye on that.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
All right.
Next, we have nominee number 13, also for the University of Maryland Medical System Board. And this is Mr. William Joseph McCarthy, Jr., who is a constituent of District 11, Senator Hedelman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Mr. President, members of the committee. My name is Shelley Hedelman. I'm Senator from District 11, and I am one of the proud elected officials that gets to represent Bill McCarthy. Many of you know him and have worked with him over the years as the Executive Director of Catholic Charities of Baltimore, where he has worked for 16 years. He is going to be retiring this July. He will have a little more time and be able to dedicate it to the University of Maryland Medical System. He leads an agency of nearly 2,100 employees, 800 volunteers that provides extensive services to older adults in Maryland, people experiencing poverty, children and families in crisis, new neighbors in the immigrant community, people with intellectual disabilities. There's really no area of social service that they don't provide. He has got a ton of experience in the community, been a resident in my district for 28 years, and really a wonderful, wonderful addition to the board where, and I will not go on any longer, but introduce Bill McCarthy.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Heddleman, Senate Chair Lamb, Senate President Bill Ferguson. I want to thank you for this opportunity, and I want to thank Governor Moore for nominating me to serve on the board of the University of Maryland Medical System. As the senator mentioned, we're the largest provider of human services, private provider of human services in the state of Maryland, and it's been an incredibly difficult 3 weeks for us. Everything from Head Start to our community-based clinics, to our service to the immigrant community, both healthcare, legal services, and just keeping people well and safe. So I'll lead it with that. I think the University of Maryland Medical System provides quality care across the state in the 12 hospitals and the communities that they serve. And as a nominated board member, if I'm confirmed, I promise to instill that access remains open, that the quality of care remains high, and that we continue to serve all of our neighbors, particularly the most vulnerable, both with primary care and health care services, but also addressing the social determinants of health. I'd open it to any questions.
Any questions from the committee, Mr. President?
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to say thank you to Bill for all of your, Mr. McCarthy, for all of your great work. And as you are moving into new adventures, I think this is an excellent opportunity for your incredible experience to serve on UMS. And as you move on to the next thing, this is I'm so glad to see that you're landing here to continue to provide guidance and insight into the management of one of our most important institutions. So thank you for your incredible life of service and the ongoing work ahead.
Thank you.
Senator Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to double down on the comments of the Senate President. I've had a chance to work with Bill in various capacities. And even doing, reaching out to Bill under some insinuating circumstances at non-traditional hours. And he is definitely dedicated to his work. He always answered a call. And if he don't have the answer, try to find the answer. So I'm so appreciative of your service here to the state. UMS has really showed up and bring out the biggest heavy hitters between Ike Leggett and Bill McCarthy all in one night. It's evident that that they have a priority on making sure that the board is representative of some people of very high stature and integrity here in our state. And so I, again, ditto all of the comments that have been made previously about the candidate.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Similar question to you as to Mr. Leggett. Given that there's a faith-based kind of institution within the system and the current environment that we're in, how do you, as a board member, examine kind of juggling those competing interests sometimes?
Yeah, I'm not sure the interests are competing interests at all. I think a spirituality element to quality-based care is very important. In your hypothetical, I think you suggested somebody not on their own presented in the emergency department. But I think as board members, no one wants to get in between a patient and their caring physician. And I think that's the prerogative that we would certainly want to uphold on the board as well.
Okay, thank you. Would look forward to additional conversations about that. I think, you know, it's not so much hypothetical. Maybe it is hypothetical with St. Joe's, but it has happened with other institutions, other hospitals here in the state. And I think the board has the means to be able to provide some guidance on how the hospitals within the system would be handling those types of situations.
Sure. Look forward to our discussion. Thank you.
Great. Senator Bidel.
Thank you. Mr. McCarthy, it's so nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
And I just want to thank you for all the work you've done with Catholic Charities. And I think that the wealth management background you bring to the hospital is going to be really important in the coming years. So thank you for volunteering, and it'll be great to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Next, we're going to go back to the Maryland Parole Commission. Nominee number 9, this is Denise Michelle Smith, who's a constituent District 46, and we'll have President Ferguson introduce her.
Good evening again, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. So I am so pleased to introduce Ms. Smith. I have to say, you know, normally for parole commissions, you know, this is a very, very important appointment that often, you know, it is somebody that has served in the legislature in elected service or has been highly connected in very different ways. And I got the chance, when I saw Ms. Smith's name as the appointment, I didn't recognize it right away. And so wanted to make sure I took the time out to get to know her and understand how she got into the process and what led to her ultimate appointment. And I'll tell you, it was a fascinating conversation to learn her incredible, deep and rich background in social work, and that she applied independently and almost as sort of a providential way of sort of circumstances in life, and to sort of put her name in up for consideration. And so, you know, a lot of times I think that people think that appointment processes only happen because they know somebody. Ms. Smith is a perfect example of somebody who has the exact history and experience and background that is the perfect person for the parole board, a very, very important board, and was selected by the governor's office to serve. And I just wanted to highlight that we don't often always see that, and I just appreciate her stepping in, putting her name in, and that this working out to push forward her appointment for this very important and critical board. So with that, strongly, strongly endorse her appointment to the Parole Commission.
Greetings. Thank you, Senator President Ferguson, Chairman Lamb, and Vice Chair Muse, and the members of the committee. I'm excited to do this critical work. As a licensed certified social worker serving on the Maryland Parole Commission, I do not take this distinction lightly. As a clinical and forensic social worker, teacher, and mentor, I am uniquely qualified as an agent of change and a student of the human condition. Throughout my nearly 25-year career in the social justice arena, I have worked within the ethos of acknowledging humanity, the humanity of the unfortunate victims and that of the accused. This work is but an extension of my life's work while maintaining a focus on public safety. I'd like to thank my family and friends who have supported me throughout my career. And again, thank Governor Moore and Secretary Edwards for the opportunity to serve Marylanders on the Maryland Parole Commission. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for this nominee? Senator Smith.
So I'll be very quick because I know the hour's late. Just first, thank you for your willingness to step up. I know I think we're down 3 commissioners now, so you make, and we're almost, 7. So you make 7, or you make?
I make 7.
You make 7, so that there are 10 total.
Yes.
All right. Look, I just thank you for stepping up. I know we're looking to continue to reform parole and make it better. And now that we've largely removed the governor out of that process, I just wanted you to expound a little bit more on your balanced approach. I liked what you said about understanding the humanity of both, obviously, the victims and the survivors, but then also folks that are kind of coming up for parole. And just can you just expound a little bit more about that balanced approach that you're looking to strike?
As I said, I am a student of human conditions, so I understand human behavior and development, and understand how someone could get to this point in their life that they're incarcerated, but I also understand how crime impacts victims, and I'm able to look at both sides of both the bigger picture. I've been doing that my whole career, and seeing both sides of the situation and being able to make a critical decision.
Senator Croza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My constituent is Commissioner Dale Smack, and I understand that you're already working with him, and I just wanted to pass along his kind words, mentioning how focused you are and your knowledge of reentry programs, and that we're lucky to have you on the commission. So thank you for your public service.
Thank you.
Any further questions for this nominee? Seeing none, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. All right, we're moving into the last commission to be brought up or considered. This is the State Real Estate Commission, and we'll begin with Ms. Jacqueline Alexander. She is a constituent of District 28 of Senator Ellis. Senator Ellis could not be here this evening, so I'll go ahead and introduce Ms. Alexander. Ms. Alexander is a realtor from Southern Maryland and has extensive experience in real estate, over 20 years of experience both in Maryland and Virginia and Southern Maryland as well. And so I think brings a wealth of knowledge and awareness into this role as a nominee to the State Real Estate Commission. With that, you may proceed.
Okay. Good evening, members of the committee, especially Senate President Bill Ferguson, Committee Chair Senator Clarence Lamb, Committee Vice Chair Senator Anthony Muse, and Secretary of Appointments Tisha Edwards, as well, and also my Senator Arthur Ellis, and my beautiful daughter who decided to join us this evening. I would like to say that I'm very humbled and honored to serve on this committee, and I want to thank Governor Moore for the nomination. Basically, I'm here and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for this nominee? All right, seeing none, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And finally, we have Hope Mims for the State Real Estate Commission, constituent District 44, the Senator Sidnors. And Senator Sidnor will do the introduction.
Good evening, everyone. Senator Sidnor on behalf of Ms. Mims, who is who's been in the real estate industry for at least 19 years. She's currently a real estate broker and the owner of her own firm. When you look at her resume, one of the things that jumped out at me was that she was also is an alum of the Goldman Sachs Small Business, and really she's the type of person that one would need and one would want, given her vast experience on the Real Estate Commission. With that, give it to Ms. Mims.
Good evening. Good evening, Senate President Ferguson, Senate Chair Lamb, Senate Vice Chair Muse, and all members of the nominating committee. Thank you to my family, friends, colleagues, Maryland Realtors, and the Maryland real estate community at large. Thank you to Governor Moore for nominating me to serve on the Maryland Real Estate Commission. It is indeed an honor. I am happy to take any questions.
Senator Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Only thing I would add, Senator Sidnor and Senator McCray would appreciate this. She's also a graduate of the Coppin State University, but also a dedicated alumni who continuously gives and gives and gives back to the community. And so the Real Estate Commission will be very lucky to have you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions for Ms. Mims? Seeing none, thank you so much. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
I was going to say no relation to Calvin Mims. No relation to Calvin Mims. No.
just for everyone's awareness, as you're looking through the agenda in the packet, nominee number L5 is actually for the Baltimore County Board of Elections. A little slight typo here in the agenda. We'll make sure we get that corrected when it goes to the floor. L5 is Baltimore County Board of Elections, not Baltimore City. Okay. So we'll move into voting. Entertain a motion. Senator Augustine.
I move that we recommend approval of the nominations for all who appeared except for numbers 12 and 13.
As well as?
Yeah, I meant to say yes, statewide as well.
All the statewide?
And statewide, yes.
Second.
Second. Okay. All those in favor of this motion?
12 and 13.
12 and 13 are the University of Maryland Medical System Board. Senator McKay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This L7, I was wondering if any senator knows this person by chance?
His name sounds familiar.
It does? Okay. I just wanted to just highlight that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Senator Hayes.
Mr. Chair, it's interesting that the senator pointed that out. And I know when Senator Carter came up, we failed to separate her name from the rest of the pack. It might be of interest that someone, once it goes to the floor, to separate that name out to give some words of recognition to that candidate.
That's a good point. Well taken. Keep that in mind. Senator Zucker.
Thank you. I just had a question. So for 12 and 13, we're just separating it for now, or are we holding it for the evening?
They'll be approved at a future meeting.
And we're able to appear.
Ask why?
I'd like to have an opportunity to meet with them.
Okay.
12 and 13.
Sure. Have you met with them yet?
No.
Okay.
So all those in favor of moving forward with all of the nominees in the packet except 12 and 13, this includes the state and local nominees as well. All those say aye. Any opposed? Okay. Seeing none, thank you. Sure.
It's not just give them kind of, the two that didn't get voted on, does this not just give them kind of the feeling that they're not, that there's a problem? I mean, I'm concerned about that.
Sure. I mean, I don't think there's a problem. I think it would be, they did not reach out, and I think I have further questions that I would like to just handle on the side. I didn't want to take up the committee's time tonight to be able to address those. Senator McKay.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I'd like to make a motion that we approve those two that we did not. We do it on a separate vote. I am concerned that we are setting a precedent that there are two fine candidates, and with all due respect, they should have probably come to talk to you, but there'll be a chance to do that, and then there'll be a chance to vote on the actual floor, so it's not final. I'd like to make that motion.
Okay. Is there any opposition? I will reach out to them and see if we can meet with them within the next week. See no opposition. I guess we'll move forward with 12 and 13 as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, all right, thank you so much. We're adjourned.